Welcome to my analysis of the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm recording this kind of late, so I'm kind of crunched for time. I might rush through some of these horses, but it's better than nothing. Let's get started. Number 1 is Forever Young. Americans know this 3-year-old because he finished a closing third in the Kentucky Derby. Then he returned last month in the Japan Dirt Classic, which he won by about a length. We can take a look at the race. Here we catched him in the stretch run, and Forever Young is just about taking over the lead right now. You can see him in the familiar blinkers, and the jockey is whipping him, but not too hard, I guess. I think he's moving along pretty well. And there's another horse closing on the outside, and that horse might be good, who knows? But I like the way Forever Young separates from the rest of the field, except for that one horse, which is fine. I think that runner-up is pretty good. Forever Young won his return race impressively, and he's ready for the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think he's going to run well. I think he's going to be somewhere in mid-pack, and he's going to make a move, and he's going to be in the mix when they come turning for home. Whether or not he's going to win, I think it's going to be close, but he's going to be on my tickets because I think he's a good horse. He was closing for third in the Kentucky Derby, and he might have won that race if it wasn't for the trouble. So I want to put him on my tickets. He's going to be right there, and we can move on to the second horse in the race, Highland Falls. Number 2, Highland Falls, looked like a new horse in the Jockey Club Gold Club at Saratoga. He had more speed in that race, and he took over and won by 4 lengths. But I worried that he wasn't facing good horses in that race. Pyrenees was second, Disarm was third. Disarm did not run well in his next start, and I just think he's going to be outclassed in this race. Even though he won that race by 4 lengths, it was a grade 1. His other races weren't that impressive. He lost a Monmouth Cup by over 5 lengths. He won a Blame Stakes at grade 3 back in June. I just don't think this horse is good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Number 3 is City of Troy. This colt is a superstar in Europe. He won his last 3 starts, all Group 1s, and his last start was at John Mont International in August. We can take a look at the race really quick. We catch them, I think they're returning for home or in the stretch run already. City of Troy is in the lead, and I mentioned this in a previous video. It's a good sign that he showed speed the entire race, because he's going to want to avoid dirt kickback in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and the only way he can do that, especially from post 3, is to show speed. And you can see here, City of Troy is on the lead. There's going to be a closer on the outside, but City of Troy is going to accelerate right here, and he's going to keep that closer at bay. And then there's the third place horse, who's going to be somewhere in the middle towards the end. So there's going to be a lot of separation between the horses at the wire, which is a good sign. It's a good sign to see gaps between each horse at the wire because it means they ran a fast race. And City of Troy won this race impressively, and I like the way that he showed speed, like I said. However, is he going to show the same kind of speed against these American horses? And he's going to be a low price. I don't like the odds of 5-2 on him because I don't know what he's going to do. I mentioned his pedigree before. Yes, there's Justify on top, but on the bottom side of his pedigree is all turf, and I just don't think 5-2 is fair to take on a horse that has never run on dirt before in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So I'm going to pass on him, but I understand if people are going to pick City of Troy. Number 4 is Mixto. He won the Pacific Classic, but it was one of the weakest editions of that race I've ever seen. Before that, he lost a race at Pleasanton, which is a fair racetrack. So I don't know if I can take this horse seriously. I don't think I will. I'll pass on Mixto and move on to Senior Buscador. Number 5, Senior Buscador. I don't know if I like him either. I liked him before. He won a big race earlier in the year. He won the Saudi Cup, and he was second in the Pegasus World Cup. He only lost by a neck to National Treasure, but what happened since then? He lost the Dubai World Cup by 9 lengths, and then he returned into Pat O'Brien, and he was a closing 4th, but it was fine because it was a return race. But then he ran in the California Classic, and he was the flat 5th by 15 and 1/4 of a length, and he showed nothing in that race. So what happened to Senior Buscador? Is he going to show up in this race and come with a late run? I don't think I can trust him. Let's move on. Speaking of lost form, what happened to Dermaso Tagaki? He was second in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. He only lost by 1 length. But this year he's done nothing. He was 5th by 2.5 lengths in the Saudi Cup, which is fine, I guess. But then he was 6th by 16 lengths in the Dubai World Cup, and then he was fifth by 8.5 lengths in his return race, which was, let's try to see it right here, the Nippon TV High, which is a Group 2 race or a Grade 2 race over in Japan. He's done nothing this year. It's been disappointing because I thought he would move on to bigger and better things after that runner-up finish in this race last year. I don't think I can trust Irma Sotogaki. Number 7, Ushba Tesero. Last year he was a mild fifth in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He only lost by 3 1/4 of a length. And this year he was a closing second in the Saudi Cup. He only lost by a head. He was second in the Dubai World Cup, although he lost by 8.5 lengths. And then he was second by 1 length in his return race in the Nippon TV High, which I just mentioned. Let me just double check really quick. And he only lost by a length. But I worry about his age. He's 7 years old, and I don't think a 7-year-old has ever won the Breeders' Cup Classic, although I haven't double checked that. But I don't think a 7-year-old has won. Maybe he could come closing for third or fourth, but I just don't see him as fast enough to win this race. I mean, he was in this race last year, and he was only fifth by 3 1/4 of a length, and I think he fired his best shot. So I don't think he's going to improve as a 7-year-old. If he could only get within 3 lengths last year against White Abario, how is he going to do this year against tougher horses? I'm going to pass. Number 8, Pyrenees. Now I like this horse because I picked him in the Pimlico Special back in May, and he won at 5-1, which was very generous. And then he was second in the Stephen Foster. He only lost that by 2.5 lengths. And then he was second in the Jockey Club Gold Cup to Highland Falls. I don't know if he's fast enough though to compete in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This is a big step up in class, even though they're both Grade 1s, Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup, Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Classic, but this is a different kind of Grade 1, and I'm going to pass on this horse, even though he's a good horse. Number 9, Fierceness. On his best day, Fierceness is a very good horse, but I did pick him in the Kentucky Derby, and he faded to 15th that day. He went on to win the Jim Dandy Stakes in July. He went on to win the Travers Stakes on August 24. We can take a look at the Travers really quick. We catched him on the far turn, and Fierceness is in the lead already. Torpedo Anna is coming on the outside, and Sierra Leone is winding up on the outside as well. Fierceness is going to try to separate from the field here. He's going to open up by about 2 lengths, and it looks like he has the race put away. But Torpedo Anna is going to come with one last move, and Sierra Leone is going to slowly keep up with them. It doesn't make sense. But Fierceness is going to barely hold on over Torpedo Anna, and Sierra Leone is about a length behind. And I thought all three of them ran well. I thought all three of them ran a good race. It doesn't matter that Fierceness only won by a head over Torpedo Anna, because Torpedo Anna is a good filly, and I have nothing but respect for her. I wonder about the price though. 3-1 on Fierceness, and there's always a chance that he's going to throw another clunker, especially if he finds the pace too fast. I don't know if I could take him as the favorite or second choice. I don't know if I could take him at 3-1. So probably against my better judgment, I'm going to leave Fierceness out. I just don't want to take a low price in this race because I think it's a wide open Breeders' Cup Classic. On his best day, he's a very good horse and he could probably win this if he runs his race, but I'm just going to pass and I'm going to go in another direction. Number 10, Tappet Trice. Tappet Trice won the Woodward Stakes by 3/4 of a length over Skippy Longstocking, and it was 13 lengths back to Kruppe in third, so maybe that's a good sign. But before that, in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, Tappet Trice was fourth by 6 3/4 of a length. I don't think this horse is fast enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. I know some out there really like this horse, but he's a step below the best of the best, and I think that he's going to come maybe for fourth at best. I don't think he can win this race, but if you're playing a trifecta or superfecta, you might want to put him on the bottom slot of that ticket. I wouldn't put him on top though. Let's move on to the next horse. Number 11 is Sierra Leone. He's a very consistent horse who hasn't won since the Bluegrass Stakes in April, but he was second in the Kentucky Derby, and he had trouble in that race because he was bumping around with Forever Young. And then he was third in the Belmont Stakes. Dornoch ran a great race that day. And then he was second in the Jim Dandy Stakes by a length to Fierceness, and Fierceness ran a great race that day. And then he was third by 1 3/4 of a length in the Travers Stakes to Fierceness again. And again, Fierceness just ran well. Fierceness has more tactical speed. But Sierra Leone still ran well. He was only a length behind. And to run a length behind Fierceness means he still ran a fast race. Now let's take a look at the Travers again. Here's the stretch run again. I'm going to focus on Sierra Leone. He's right outside of Torpedo Anna, and I know it seems like Sierra Leone is hanging, but I think that Fiercest is just running a good race, and Torpedo Anna, the best filly around, is running a great race as well. And Sierra Leone is gonna slowly inch up towards them, towards the wire. Again, he was only a leg behind, and there was a big gap to the fourth place horse. I don't think he ran bad at all. Yes, maybe he hung a little, but I think he needed more pace because the half went in 48 and change. And let me double check that. The half went in 48 and change, and I just think that he needs the pace to be a little faster to win against the best horses, but I think he is capable. In any case, Sierra Leone is going to be on my tickets. I think that if he gets the right pace, he could win. And in a Breeders' Cup Classic, there's usually a fast pace, so I see no reason not to pick him, especially at double-digit odds. I don't know if he's going to stay at those odds, but he's going to be on my ticket. Number 12 is Arthur's Ride. Arthur's Ride won the Whitney Stakes by 2 1/4 of a length over Croupi, and post time was in third. And I thought he would go on to win the Jockey Club Gold Cup and become one of the favorites for the Breeders' Cup Classic, but that wasn't the case. The pace was fast, and he faded to fifth by 9.5 lengths. Highland Falls, as I talked about earlier, won that race by 4 lengths, and I think that Arthur's Ride is just a step below the best horses. I don't think he's good enough to win this race, even if he goes to the front. He should go to the front. That's his only chance of winning. But I think he's just going to create a fast pace, and he's going to have Fierceness right on him. And I think he's going to probably fold on the far turn. Number 13 is Newgate. Newgate is a horse I didn't think highly of for a long time. But then he won a Santa Anita handicap earlier in the year over Subsanador. And that was a slight improvement. But then he went to Maiden to compete in the Dubai World Cup and ran ninth by 18.5 lengths, which I could forgive. Some horses don't run well in the Middle East. Newgate came back in September and he ran in the California Classic, and he finished a closing third using stalking tactics. He only lost by a head to Subsanador, who he beat earlier in the year in the Santa Anita handicap, but I thought it was a good effort because it came off the layoff, and he didn't need a prep race for the California Classic. He just ran his best race ever, probably. He ran a 123 on Timeform US. What will he run in the second start off the layoff? Maybe a 127, 128. It might be good enough to win this edition of the Breeders' Cup Classic. Maybe even a 130. Bob Baffert is his trainer. This is his home course. And I think he's going to have Newgate primed and ready to run the race of his life. So that's going to be my third choice, besides Forever Young and Sierra Leone. Let's move on to the last horse, and we'll also briefly mention the also eligible. Number 14 is Next. Next has been winning his races by incredible margins. He won his last race, the Goodwood Cup, by 10 lengths. He won that race at Saratoga, I think it was the Birdstone Stakes, by 22 1/4 of a length. And he won the Brooklyn Stakes by over 9 lengths. The problem is they're all marathon races, and this is 10 furlongs, which is close to a marathon, but not quite. This is a different kind of race, and I think that Next will have trouble with the pace of this race. Because typically in marathon races, you're going at a slower pace early on, and you're just outlasting them at the end. And I think that there's going to be horses here that are going to be running fast at the end, so I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with them as they accelerate towards the finish line. I think that he's going to just be outrun. In any case, let's mention the last horse, the also eligible Rattle and Roll. Number 15, Rattle and Roll, the also eligible. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this horse. He was a mile third in a Lucas Classic, and his race before that was the Lucas Classic last year. He was a mile fourth, and if he can't compete in those races, then I don't see how he's going to win or even hit the board in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Given the post position, Sierra Leone is my top horse in this race. He's going to drop behind horses, and he's probably going to find a very comfortable spot, and he's going to come with a slight run, of course. It's just a matter of whether the pace is fast enough, and I think it will be. Forever Young is probably just as good as Sierra Leone, although he has to deal with the inside, and hopefully he won't get bumped around or boxed and not find any room. And Newgate, as I said, Newgate ran the race of his life with the 123 on Timeform US in the California Crown, and I think he's going to move forward. I think he's hitting his peak form. So those are my 3 choices. They'll all be on my ticket. Good luck with your bets on Breeders' Cup Day 2, and that's going to be it for my analysis. I'll be back at some point with another video, probably covering the Derby Trail.